And I think when you look back on the long term, like if you look back 5 years ago, you see how much growth you've made. But in the micro, it feels like a dip.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Awesoming's podcast, where we highlight people pursuing their definition of, you guessed it, awesome. So buckle up and get ready for some more success story adventures and failures from Kentucky's tech and entrepreneur community. Hey, if you're tuning back in, I'm kicking it with my friend Chase Fairchild. I almost said Face Chairchild.
I know, I love that.
Oh gosh, Chase Fairchild with Bolt Marketing here in Lexington, Kentucky. He's just a goofball. We're laughing in between cuts, I promise you that. But we're talking about marketing. Chase is a very gifted storyteller. He's also very, very funny. And one of the things he does well is he helps relate marketing to all types of people and businesses. So in this little series, we're going to be talking about 4 main topics with marketing. First one was getting back to the basics. It's very easy to get lost in the sauce and overcomplicate things. Chase talked about 2 things in particular from the last episode. 1, if you confuse, you lose. Thanks, Don Miller, down in Nashville with StoryBrand. That's so crucial. And then secondly, have an objective. I know here with our team at Awesome Inc., we talk quite a bit about beginning with the end in mind, thanks to the book, 7 Habits of it's either effective or successful people.
It's effective.
Effective, okay. Effective People by Stephen Covey. So try something as you are going to a goal. Don't just throw mud at a wall and see what sticks per se. So if you want to accomplish, how to talk with a specific demographic, narrow that down and then try one step at a time. So good stuff. And now we're going to be talking about personal creativity. Insert the Disney fanfare, the villainous laugh, my favorite. Chase, there's so much we're going to talk about. And again, with marketing, we're talking about relationships. So Chase, right off the bat, how do you create relationships with marketing?
Well, I think about if you look at like how it happens as a whole. Like obviously, like you're working off of a MacBook right now. Like you have a loyalty to Mac. Do you have an iPhone?
I do. I have an Apple Watch. I have AirPods. They own me.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the thing is we make connections with brands, and sometimes we have very limited options, like maybe with what internet provider we use. I'm not going to name names, but
SpectroNet.
wait, you said it.
No, I said SpectroNet.
Oh, SpectroNet. Yeah.
I threw you off there. Anyways.
Wireless worldwide. Who knows? Yeah.
Prestige worldwide. All right. Create relationships with marketing.
Yeah. No, I think we latch on to brands that we have an affinity for, I think, or we want to be like. So we either have a nostalgia or an aspirational mentality when we engage with people, or functional. There's more ways we do it, but I think about those 3 a lot. Something nostalgic, like, your friend who has the vintage Disney deal. That's all based on nostalgia, maybe some fashion. But then you have your functional stuff, like, oh yeah, like I love my KitchenAid because it's whatever, it's reliable.
Kitchen.
It's like it's the only other option. I couldn't name another mixer. And then the more aspirational stuff, like the wilderness piece that we talked about, like, I want to be that kind of person. I'm not that kind of person. So I want to get into, it's cool branding. It's great video. It's great. So the relationship is forged through time. A lot of people say that it takes between like 7 to 9 touches with a brand before that people make a decision. So it's really all about building relationships. Like I think I said this on the first episode was, marketing where marketing misses the mark is prioritizing transactional over relational. And so I think for brands to build relationships well with their audience it's to be value-based, to give value when there's nothing to ask for in return.
Yeah.
And to see yourself as an expert in your field and to talk about the lifestyle that you're working with. So, Patagonia, for example, they're like an outdoor wear company.
Ever heard of them?
I don't know if you have. They're like a little mountain range down south.
Super little.
Uh-huh. But now they're getting into like camp food, like dehydrated salmon and stuff. Like,
really?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but you would never think that like a clothing company would make food. So, I just heard that Yeti's going into They're going into some new industry. I mean, well, Yeti started off as coolers. Now they're hats.
And then they're doing
koozies.
PFGs and chacos.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
kidding.
know. I don't know what they're getting into. They're getting into some new industry. I wish I would have known. It would have really buttoned it up. But you're going to look it up?
I am.
The suspense is killing me.
Portable power station. Is that what it is?
Maybe.
Okay.
Still not a cooler.
That's what DuckDuckGo came up with.
Still not a cooler. Yeah. So, as you like start to build the brand out, you have new opportunities. You start with the cooler, but then your merchandise becomes one of your primary profit, puppies. That's a Snacks Daily reference right there. Profit puppy. I love that. But they didn't set out to go be a hat company or generator company or a koozie company. They start off with coolers. And so that relationship is being built and it's evolving. And you have people who have been loyal to that brand since day one.
Yeah.
So I think time and value combines, like consistency with value, providing value consistently over time will build a relationship with, whether it's you and I, every time we get together, you add value to me, I add value to you. We have a good time. We have a shared experience.
I'm just going to stop you. Did you hear that? Chase said I add value to him. This is a big day for me. No, I'm kidding. But I do want that on a t-shirt.
Okay, deal.
Time and consistency add value.
It's how brands build relationships with people the same way people build relationships with people, with time and trust.
Going literally right off that, something that we talked about with brands and actually with you in particular, when we had lunch a month ago, is you're talking about the difference between personal brand and company brand. So I know you run a company, Bolt. Ouch, not lightning bolt, shocked me. Bad joke. But how do you vary the importance of having a distinction between your personal brand, as Chase Fairchild, and then a company brand with Bolt?
A lot of times I feel like my temptation has been to hide behind the company brand. And, it's a risk to go out and to write or to talk on something like this or to, take a stance because, it's a risk. You're being vulnerable. You open yourself up to critique. And, it's difficult. So it's really easy to hide behind the company brand and be able to say, oh, it's the company. That's the company.
Yeah.
But I think that as the world becomes more connected and we live in a more digital reality post-COVID and, the personal brand is the new... the
new move. It's orange is the new black.
Yeah, right. Well, there's a guy down in Atlanta named Casey Graham who has this saying. He says the personal brand is the new 401k. Yeah. So, it's not the case anymore where you graduate from college and go work at GM for 50 years. That doesn't exist anymore. People are treating jobs like
your first girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is that rude? Maybe I should cut that out.
No. Yeah. I don't even know what you mean by that.
Me neither. It's what came to mind.
I like that. Don't cut that.
My first girlfriend was probably great.
My first girlfriend is in middle school, and she broke up with me because I wouldn't acknowledge her when I was around my friends.
I think it's everybody's first girlfriend.
I went and hold hands with her, and I went to school on a Monday, and I had been in love with this girl. I was in love with her. And she came over to my house. This is a big deal with for a small group of friends, and I was so shy. I was once I had taken it to the end zone, and say she's my girlfriend, made it official. I was just afraid of her. I was like, I don't know what to do. That's a Saturday. On Monday, I go to my locker, open it up, and a whole notebook falls out of letters. Chase, you are a great friend.
Oh,
but
dang, burn.
I don't think you should be my boyfriend.
Perfect. Well, going back to...
You can cut that if you want.
No, I think it's funny. Just don't hate me because I made a bad joke. Okay, so we talked about brand. I think one of the main things is taking that risk. And we mentioned my buddy, actually not my buddy yet, Jack Butcher, his personal brand and how he's blown up. So for you, Chase, what does the process look like for creating quality content? So I know you post a lot on LinkedIn. You've moved away from Instagram. What is the risk association with creating quality?
Man, there's a lot of better people to ask than me in the sense of that sort of stuff.
Humble. I note that. That's good.
No, I just know that I got to find the right place for me because I'm not really you know, I'm more of I would troll people on Instagram and Facebook, and I do things out of irony, and that makes me laugh because people take themselves too seriously. And,
I was actually just going to ask you, is that okay to make yourself laugh with your work?
yeah, I make myself laugh at the comments I leave on things. It's stupid. Like, I just do it for me, though, because I think it's hilarious. Like, people are like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't think of an example, but, but when it comes to like being serious, I don't feel like I answered the last question. The girlfriend thing got us on a tangent.
Yeah. Brand versus
Personal brand versus company brand. It's really easy to hide behind the company brand because when it's Garrett, like there's no Awesome Inc. to be like, to kind of like hide under, and when Chase is talking, is not necessarily a Bolt to be, it's not the Bolt blog. It's like Chase's thoughts on this. And so there's something scary and kind of getting over that hump and knowing there's going to be haters who talk about, I'm not trying to be like, oh man, if you don't have haters, you got nobody talking about you. Like I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that people are going to disagree with you. But in the long run, I believe that it's a worthy investment because you're all, whether you stay at the job you're at forever or if you own the company, you could sell it one day. You're always going to have a brand, a personal brand. And it's going to go with you wherever you go. There's a guy down in Atlanta named Casey Graham who says your personal brand is the new 401k. You're thinking about your experience as like a story and as like a portfolio, and saying this fits the Chase brand, this fits the Garrett brand. And so I think when it comes to deciding what that is, it just talks about like, what is something you could talk about without any preparation on stuff? What is something that you could talk about for days and days and days that you're interested in? Who do you want to be? Are you sarcastic? Are you spiritual? Are you serious? Are you,
trolling people on Instagram?
Are you trolling people on Instagram? Like, what's the brand?
Yeah.
And just like you would treat a company brand, you determine what the values are, the objective is, what's the voice, and then you do it and you translate that. I don't know. It's something where you just take little by little and you bring it to reality.
So what does that look like for you with creating quality content? Quality content. Man, tongue twister, quality content. Because I know you post a lot on LinkedIn. And actually a conversation we had a month or two ago, that was what we talked quite a bit about is, hey, I'm posting things and challenging myself to add value. Mm-hmm. Because one, I enjoy it, but two, it's helping me flex my creativity role and my job. Totally. So yeah, what does that look like for you? And is there any risk involved? What does that look like?
Yeah. I was actually turned on to the LinkedIn opportunity by a friend of mine, Richard Greer with Rising Sun Developing. He actually was my childhood pastor and youth pastor and college pastor and adult pastor.
And
so
this is how you turned out. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks a lot. No, yeah, he's been in my life since I was 5. So obviously trust what he says, but he had recently moved in from the ministry world to business and had found a lot of insights into this guy's program. And the reality about LinkedIn is there's I don't know, maybe 750 million users. And of those 750 million users, only 4 million of them post more than once a week. So if you post more than once a week, if you were 2 times a week or 3 times a week on LinkedIn, you're in the top 0.0001% or something like that of content creators. And so LinkedIn is trying to really boost their activity. They're trying to be able to run ads, and people aren't spending money on ads on LinkedIn because it doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah. Well, I think too, talking about people, that's how you're building your personal brand.
Right. So they're really incentivizing people who are creating interesting content and engaging with people. And so it's a little bit of like a gold rush type deal where it's like Facebook and Instagram in the early days where it's just like in TikTok now, kind of like it's a lot of organic growth capabilities. So I don't know how long it's going to last. Also, you got to kind of like think about like, what's your goal there? Like, I don't want to be like LinkedIn famous. That's not the goal. The goal is to be able to, and going through some of these teachings is learning how to add value and connect with people and get into a habit of writing. I process verbally.
Mm-hmm. I can tell.
But a lot of times, like writing is a great way to like refine. And you think when you have to think through how do you say it succinctly, how do you get people's attention, how do you get them to stop scrolling to read your stuff. And when people find it really valuable, that's really great. It's super encouraging. And makes you feel good and makes you feel like you've added something to the world. I haven't posted in like 3 weeks or something like that, just because I don't really have anything I want to say right now. I need to get back on it, but the reality is I've stopped kind of like, if I don't have something to say, I'm not going to say anything really. But if I have something to say, I should say it. So
yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I think just setting up habits, trying to find, there's all sorts of stuff out there. There's different types of posts that you can make. Say it's LinkedIn. I'm using LinkedIn as an example right now, but I'd like to move into more long form writing for myself, even if I just never write it about. I just would like to write some more thoughts out. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that's good. I mean, again, we're hearing more about your personal creativity, and maybe this will give somebody, a spark or maybe a kick in the pants of, I need to get back on my habit, like you just mentioned, and creating a system. So one thing I had a friend here in town say, and this is their quote, "I'm not a coffee guy, but I love good branding. And when I see it, and I think of Manchester Coffee, Chase, great job, and that has some of the best." So this was a direct ask to you. What did the branding and vision casting process look like for for Manchester?
Yeah. So that was early days. That was like back in 2018.
How's that pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID, yes. Back in the old world. We knew we wanted to start a coffee roasting company. My partners and I, had seen some things we liked. We'd been inspired by some different brands, and kind of knew the vibe. But the objective, for the brand was to inspire and to kind of be a little bit on the edge and to have a creative positioning. So we worked with a really talented designer in town, because at that point we had a really small team. It was just me and my partners and another employee, and none of us were really like gifted designers. So we worked with the guy who's freelance, and we worked together to come up with kind of the brand and what we wanted to stand for. And then, we worked to create the in-house experience with the neon sign, which is one of my favorite things. And, the cups, when they have, everything, all the little details, I think are really, in my mind, when I'm impressed by a brand, it's when the little things are really unique. So, but then the customers really made it what it is, and they really latched onto it. And then we continued that brand in our merchandising and our social media presence. So it really gave us the trajectory we wanted to go on.
Yeah. So you had that process with your team. What is something you personally did to help foster some of that, like the vision that you thought, oh, this is where I see this coffee shop going? Like, was there a brand that you saw and thought, I like what they're doing. How can I modify it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was definitely a collaborative effort. I think, sometimes I always say I'm a big fan of good enough. I tend to be more of an action person, and once just get it out there and have people interact with it. Let's put something out there and you tell me how you like it, and then I'll evolve it. Like Bolt's a perfect example of that. Like we've had so many iterations, but for coffee, I was out in San Diego back in early 2018 and saw this coffee shop called James Coffee Company, and really liked the branding, although our branding is really different. It was really cool. You walked in, I was really inspired by it, and it just got my wheels turning, thinking about Lexington and thinking about how could this work in Lexington? And then I partnered up with, your
team.
Yeah, my team. And we, everybody breathe. That's what I love about creative collaboration, is everybody breathes their insights and experience into it. And if you have a good team with different skill sets, it really doesn't feel like work a lot of times. It just, you're collaborating and people are bringing to the table what they're really good at. And a lot of times being the guy who has ideas or sees potential in things or vision, a lot of times my work is done at the front end, because I bring, a lot of times I, could think of something and I bring it to the team and we'd like, okay, let's do this. And then the work begins for them because I saw something. But it's the creative process is, like I said, in episode 1, was I'm always looking for trends or things that are happening, or, I'm interested in that sort of stuff. I'm interested in human behavior and how we interact with our environment around us.
Chase, there's a LinkedIn post you had, and I'm referencing this. So would love to hear in person, not just reading it from you. But what's a recent valley you've been in, and what were the 2 steps forward, 1 step back in that process time period to get out of said valley?
I think it's just a natural ebb and flow of growth. I think if you look at if we all look at our lives right now, we are unhappy with something about it. We'd like for something to be different. We'd like to have more money or more success or more friends or less weight or more weight, or, there's just, we all have something we want. And I think when you look back on the long term, like if you look back 5 years ago, you see how much growth you've made. But in the micro, it feels like a dip. And growth isn't linear. I wish it was. And a lot of times in my imagination and dreaming, I think it is linear. Like, oh yes, like the rules of growth are going to defy themselves for me right now. It's going to be all up, but that's not the way it works. And so I think there's some valleys. You're dealing with relationships, you're dealing with clients, and you're dealing with a lot of things that can be subjective or abstract, and people have different opinions. And the biggest thing I think when you're working in, if you work in the creative field, or in a service role, like setting expectations is the biggest part of, you can avoid a lot of hardship if you just set expectations well in the beginning.
The good old ebb and flow of life. Yeah, Chase, I can totally relate with you there. And I know what you mean. The ups and downs, the happies and crappies, the valleys, all the good stuff. Well, Chase, thanks for sharing a bit about your personal creativity, some of what inspires you. I think what I appreciated most is hearing you talk about habits, that you read and you write more. And again, that's stuff that probably not many people would know or guess, but that's what helps foster your your talent. I bet you write some really funny stuff.
Who knows?
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'll have to break into your diary and see.
Yeah, right.
Well, guys, thanks for listening into this next bit. So we're halfway done. We got 2 more that we're going to crank out. And the next one's going to be talking about marketing, specifically in business. And this is where I'm excited because we actually had a handful of Kentucky startup founders reach out and toss some questions my way. Why did I say toss? I don't know. They sent in some questions. Chase, excited for you to answer them. And as always, appreciate y'all. Chase, people can find you at Bolt.
Buildwithbolt.com.
Buildwithbolt.com. That's what it is. Okay.
That's the one.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Awesomings Podcast. And another quick thank you to Lee Rosevear and a few members from our community who provide the music that you hear in this show. Lastly, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. Or even better, come on down to our space. Come be a part of our community and get plugged in, and let's start something awesome together. You guys rock. We'll see you next time.